Believe it or not, we have introduced 128 types in our introductory series so far. In order of importance, we have talked about the human needs, the letters, and the animals. The human needs give the types their foundation. Letters and animals give more nuance to how the human needs are expressed. But unfortunately, we're not finished. As ridiculous as it sounds, 128 types are not enough. We're not even finished with the variations of the human needs.
We still need more complexity because two people of the same 128 type can still come across as quite different. But with more complexity comes also more clarity. For this reason, more types can make typing actually easier. The new part that we add in this video is the sexual component of the functions. As weird as that sounds, because it actually turns out that every cognitive function is either feminine or masculine. The sexual energy essentially captures if the function is pushy and aggressive or flowy and movable.
So what the hell does that even mean? First of all, we're not talking about biological sex. We're talking about the abstract concepts of masculine and feminine. A cognitive function is feminine if its expression is movable and flowy, non-confrontational, and forgetful. A function is masculine if it's non-movable, pushy, aggressive, and solid.
Feminine and masculine functions come in pairs. One of your deciders is always feminine and the other is masculine. It's the same with the observers. This means that people aren't simply feminine or masculine. Everybody has a feminine and a masculine side. The question is rather, what are your feminine and what are your masculine parts? To see how we track these parts in the types, let's take a look at the observers first.
Tracking feminine and masculine in the coins is a bit different to other parts. With the observers, we track the feminine or masculine side of the sensory. So we ask, is your sensory masculine? Or is it feminine? Savior or demon doesn't matter here. You could have masculine sensory and feminine intuition. Those always go together. The human need doesn't matter here. In this case, you tend to be physically pushy, like literally, when it comes to things, and you're more specific with sensory details. You also tend to memorize events in a timeline. There is a sequential order to your memory. In contrast, you're movable with your intuition and ideas, and you have a hard time holding on to abstract concepts.
In the other case, you have feminine sensory and masculine intuition. You're literally less pushy with physical things and less concerned with sensory specifics. You can also be more forgetful about sensory details. Conversely, you have an easier time remembering concepts and ideas. You tend to have a visual memory and you tend to push with ideas and concepts.
With the deciders, we track your feminine or masculine aspect of your tribe human need. Again, savior or demon doesn't matter. In the first case, your DE is masculine and your DI is feminine. This means that you see the tribe as aggressive and unmovable, and you tend to push against it. You're more accepting of conflict on the front end. Conversely, your identity is feminine. It's movable, it's flexible, and you feel the need to protect it.
In the second case, your DE is feminine and your DI is masculine. In this case, you see the tribe as feminine and movable. You tend to avoid conflict on the front end. You engage in a more indirect and feminine way with other people. With that, your identity is masculine. It's solid and secure. You prefer to not move it for others. Your aggressive side comes out later, when you feel that conflict can't be avoided any longer. So this is how we track feminine and masculine energy in the types.
Our notation follows the definition of the coins. Since we have 2 coins for the sexuals, we have 4 variations for the types. We denote them with FF, FM, MF, and MM. We call the FFs the double feminines and the MMs the double masculines. We usually call the FMs the visuals and the MFs the audios because this relates to how they process information. We'll probably talk about that more in a future video.
In this 2-letter code, the first letter stands for the sexual of the sensory and the second letter stands for the sexual of the DE. This means that the double feminines have feminine sensory and feminine DE. The visuals have feminine sensory and masculine DE. The audios have masculine sensory and feminine DE. And for the double masculines, both are masculine. Please remember that the double masculines technically aren't more masculine than the other types. Every type has 2 masculine and 2 feminine functions in any case. The double masculines are rather the types that come across as more masculine in a classical sense. The double feminines usually come across as more feminine, while the visuals and audios are in the middle of the spectrum.
But everyone has a masculine and a feminine side. The double masculines are just more masculine with the external world, while it is the opposite for the double feminines. They are just way more aggressive on the inside. While we do not track saviors and demons with the sexuals, they do have an influence on the expression of the feminine and the masculine. But that's another topic for future videos.
For sexual variation types, 128 types makes 512 types in total. We call them the OPS 512 or simply the OPS types. These types are centered around the human needs, so people with the same 512 type express the human needs in the same way. But we're not finished. There are still more types to come, and we have one more introductory video for you.
But that last video will be about an aspect that is a brand new addition to OPS. It's not about the cognitive functions, it's about what you use the functions for. Because two people of the same 512 type can still be very different. One explanation might be where they see themselves on the social hierarchy. But what is that and how does it work? We'll explain all of that in the next video. Brand new addition to the OPS system.
But please don't say OPS system.
Fuck!